Hello, my friend. Welcome to today's podcast episode. Welcome to the Living in Sync podcast. I'm your host, Joelle Cease. For those of you who are new here, I am going to be doing a girl chat episode, and this is just like a gab and chat with your girlfriend where we're going to talk about a lot of different topics, and I hope you enjoy them. I told you that I hope the Living in Sync podcast just becomes your favorite podcast for listening to something that's lighthearted, feels conversational, feels like a friend, and I'll give you some tips along the way, but nothing too serious, you know? I spent many years teaching very formal, educational based episodes on hormones and health and fitness and organization, time management and strategy. And now I'm just in a season of life where I'm like, okay, we all need to take a collective exhale. It is going to be okay and it'll all work out, which is actually really interesting. You guys will be hearing on the podcast coming up soon me chatting with one of my podcast production clients, Kathy, and she hosts Girlfriend's Guide to Midlife podcast, and it is all about having conversations about topics in midlife. And I know not all of you are in the same stages of life as I am. And so I wanted to share Kathy, her story on here with you. But the interesting thing about her podcast is she's interviewing ladies in midlife, and she has these 5 questions that she asks at the end of each show. One of them being like, what would you tell your younger self? And almost all of them, you guys, almost all of them have said, I'd go back and just tell her it's all going to work out and it's all for a reason, or it's something of that nature. And so when I was listening and hearing all of that throughout November, December, when I thought about the trajectory of this podcast, I'm like, I'm just going to take a collective deep breath, because as much as we try to control things in our lives, we can't. And oh boy, did that happen in January. I think this is the first time I'm going to hop on the podcast and not say, oh my gosh, the time went by so fast. January felt like an entire year. January felt like an eternity. January felt like 9,652 days long. So I'm glad we made it to February. I'm so excited to be sitting in a new month with you guys. And I just loved sharing on social media the collective January giggle type of content, because I think it happened to all of us, where it was cold fronts, sicknesses, cabin fever, sicknesses, all that on repeat over and over and over again. But the good thing about that was I leaned into my regular rhythms and routines. I leaned into reading as well. I actually, when the TikTok ban was going around and everybody was in flux about it, I knew I needed to break up with TikTok. And so in my head, no matter what, I was like, I am deleting the app. I am getting off of TikTok. And to me, it's going to be gone. And I actually kind of had a feeling that the whole TikTok ban was going to be like a just kidding. And even though there's still ways to get on TikTok, I have broken up with TikTok. And so I read a lot this month. I mean, I'm going to start out by saying that I, like everybody else in the entire world, is reading The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And I'm here to tell you guys that it is worth the hype. It is really, really good. And the theory isn't necessarily new. I have lived by this type of theory for a really, really long time. Growing up, I mean, I was told all the time, like, you cannot control the decisions and the actions and the responses of others. Like, you cannot control that. I know there's also poems and other books that are about that. But the thing with Mel Robbins is I'm doing the audiobook now and I'm getting a copy of her physical book, that's how much I love this book, and I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I'll be listening to it again and again and again. The way that she just talks, it feels like a voice of reason that's also a really good friend that just needs to tell you the truth. And because it's a one-way emotional conversation, like even if Mel says something that like hurts your feelings a little bit or is like a gut check, you can't have the type of emotional response because she isn't like your friend or your significant other or somebody else where it's like you're kind of just left to sit with what she said. And I think that that's what causes it to really, really sink in. And, I think for a lot of my life, I didn't necessarily think that I was trying to control things or control situations or control circumstances or any people in my life or anything like that. But what I really love about it is she really hits home with the let me. In every situation, there's times where you've got to let them, you're not in control of others, but how she's teaching to take empowered action is really, really cool. So if you haven't checked it out, I don't want to be another annoying person that's telling you it's awesome and amazing, but my friend, it's awesome and amazing. And then I read the book, The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie, and I got this on a Friday and I could not put it down, and I finished it before Sunday night. This book is so fascinating because back in the day when Sherry Frankie and her family and like her extended family, so even like her aunts and everything, were creating YouTube content, family vlog style, I was watching them all. Like I was watching them all in real time. Every like crazy video that she referenced, I'm like, oh, I remember when that video came out. And Sherry Frankie, for those of you who don't know, she is the eldest daughter of a family vlog, Mormon family vloggers in Utah. And it was just an example of like how the mind and just a lot. It's just crazy. All that she shares and all that she went through, and now she's a young woman and she's living on her own. And last year, a really horrific circumstance with her younger siblings. So she's the oldest of 8. No, she's the oldest of 6 because their family channel was called 8 Passengers. So they had family of 8, 6 kids, mom and dad, just crazy of what happened in the stories, and makes you think about all of the kids that grew up being the content and in content creation. I mean, I think every single one of them is gonna be different, but just kind of like child actors, like for some, it is just gonna be a curse for them. Others will see it as a blessing and the life that they were given. But in this situation, in this circumstance, like money and power and social media persona, I think it played a lot, because I remember even thinking like to Sherry that she was really close with all of her aunts and her mom's parents and all of that. And so when she's talking about their darkest times, I'm like, how come it isn't just like in her second nature to go to her aunts and go to her grandma and grandpa? Like, where are they? And that made me even kind of judge what I've thought and felt about what this family was portraying, of like extended family needing to be very close to them and this, that, and the other thing. And like, why didn't they want to get involved? Why didn't they step in? And it's all because of, in my opinion, their social media, what's the word I'm looking for? Like reputation, their social media reputation. They didn't want anything to contradict what was going on, and didn't want it to harm their social media reputation, because that would affect their livelihood. Their family is their livelihood. Their content is their livelihood. And if they were to get canceled, there goes their livelihood. Specifically, one of the sisters, like I just remember her being like, oh, I love so much when my nieces and nephews come to stay with me. It's my favorite weeks of the summer. And then I'm like, okay, but when they were in dire need of help, like, you were not that close enough to them for them to like try to SOS to you. Like, I don't get it. So still a lot. And it was actually even interesting to me to see that like Sherry Frankie's aunts didn't seem to share and celebrate this young woman writing a memoir. Essentially, it says so the book again is called The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom by Sherry Frankie. And I really, really, really enjoyed this book. The other book that I really, really enjoyed was called Leave Me Behind. And that is a romance, steamy mystery, dark romance type of book. So as you can see, I'm a very well-rounded reader, my friend. It's like I love fiction, I love smut, I also love personal development and growth. I actually had another friend today send me another like memoir that I'm really excited to get into as well. TBD if I recommend that, but this person always gives really good recommendations. And January was a good month for reading, a really good month for reading. And also, I've been rewatching Schitt's Creek. 10 out of 10 recommend just finding a comedic comfort show to, at the end of the day, just have a giggle, just have a laugh, just have a good time. I mean, I still am chuckling about one of Alexis's lines of her and Ted, and he's talking about her getting this vaccination before they take a trip together, and this is towards like the end of the season, but she's really nervous about the idea of getting a shot, and he's like, think of it like Botox, and like gives her a little cutesy tap on the forehead, and she's like, ew, Ted, what do you think? I'm 32? And I just cracked up laughing. So I 10 out of 10 recommend finding like a comedic show. My husband and I really want like Netflix or Hulu or some streaming platform to have that 70s show. We watched that 70s show so much when we were first dating, and I thought it'd be just so hilarious to watch that show again. So if you have any just comedic comfort shows that you love to watch, send me a DM on Instagram and tell me which one you love to watch. I know a lot of people are super into Friends. Sometimes we got into Modern Family. We actually rewatched How I Met Your Mother, and we had never seen the last season in the last episode. And as much as I loved that show, now watching it back again and like, this was just kind of ridiculous. And the last season was so drawn, so drug out. And then the last episode was like, WTF? What? Like, wow, did they really, really, really extend the story and the plot to keep it on air? But like, we all knew how it was going to end, but then it was just, I don't know. I thought it was kind of a weird way to end the series. In January, though, you guys, my workouts were what kept me sane. I stayed committed to my workouts, to my 10K training. I signed up for the 10K. I'm going to be running a 10K in May, and I'm doing the dang thing. I wrote out, in a week, like kind of my weekly training schedule that includes cross training. It includes sprints and like speed workouts. I've got a long run in there. I've got active recovery in there. And so I feel really good with this schedule. It has been challenging me. I have really, really, really been enjoying it. And during my workouts, you guys, it has been the biggest lesson in my own self-talk. to get through my run. Specifically today, I'm just going to give you the example. I ran 4.5 miles today, and I started my run on a treadmill, and I opened up the Peloton app, which you don't need a Peloton to be a subscriber of the Peloton app. And I opened up is it Alex Toussaint? I think that's how you say his last name. But I opened up one of his runs because he's very much like coach, and he has that coach energy. Robin Arzon is another one. I think I've mentioned it on here before, where I really like Robin's runs too. She's very, very motivational and inspiring. But today I started off with 20 minutes of Alex because I wanted to get myself into the headspace of being coached. And when I had my headphones on, my phone was on the treadmill, and I was doing the 20 minutes of Alex, I was treating it like Alex was my coach and pretending like he was there with me in the gym in real life, telling me like, okay, we're going to keep this pace for 2 minutes. Now we're going to bump it up. Now we're keeping that pace for 2 minutes. It was a really good endurance run that I found on the Peloton app. And at the last push, he said the phrase of like, let's get it, mama. We're almost there. And I ended the 20-minute workout. Then what I have done is I will turn on my own music playlist. Like once I've gotten warmed up, once I've gotten in that zone, I then can like turn on my own music and put myself in that positive headspace. And man, even at like 30 minutes in to the workout, I started to feel myself like starting to be like, oh, I don't like this. I shouldn't be doing this. How am I ever going to do a 10K? Blah, 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 blah. And then I started hearing Alex's voice in my head of like, you're just getting started. You're just getting warmed up. You're just getting into the groove of this. You're getting in this groove. You are in this. And I was not saying it all consecutively like that, but I was starting to change my self-talk from a place of disempowering to empowering. And that changed how I finished out the run. That completely changed how I finished out the run. And it was really, really good. For strength workouts, I've been doing free workouts on YouTube with Nourish Move Love. I believe she's a Minnesota YouTube creator, but she has a 20-minute challenge. It's like a 20-minute 11-day challenge or 20 minutes, something like that. It's one of her newest challenge series that are on her YouTube channel. And that's what I've been doing for my cross training and my strength training. And I've been really, really, really liking it because it's about athletic performance. I very much have been in the bodybuilding, progressive overload type of workouts for a long, long time with Madeline Moves, Lift 4, those types of workouts. But doing this athletic-based training is really good for me right now in the sense of challenging myself. My hopes is that challenging myself physically, amping myself up, going to and pushing myself physically translates into other areas of my life. And so far, I have seen that result. I've always been somebody who's worked out pretty consistently. I've always been somebody who's shown up and done the things, but has it always been for a purpose of like training for a 10K? Because on my active recovery days, I do know like I've got to stretch this out, open things up, become more mobile because I don't want to get injured. When I am running and when I am stretching myself and when I am pushing myself, especially with a sedentary job, I always am telling myself like, just because I'll take yesterday, for example. So yesterday I did one of the 20-minute strength workouts from Nourish Move Love, and I walked for a little bit for like a brain break in the afternoon. And then after that, I went for a walk and I did zone 2 for my walk while my kids were at one of their activities in the evening. And I was walking and walking. And some would say like, oh, that is overworking out. Well, when you have a sedentary desk job. And as much as I try to get up to my walking pad and work on my walking pad for a little bit and then work at my standing desk, still like an hour a day of activity is so good for the heart and the mind and the body that it's not overdoing it. It's not overdoing it. I don't feel like I'm overdoing it. I feel like I'm challenging myself, but I am not overdoing it. And knowing that I'm training for this 10K and knowing that purpose of like, I want to just be able to easy peasy go out and run a 5K. My 10Ks are going to be my challenges. I'm just approaching even nutrition differently a little bit. Nutrition is still where I've got to get, rein the things in, but I'm making even better swaps nutrition wise. And then I have been weighing myself every day, which is such a mind F. It's a mind F. It really is. As a woman, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And I can speak about it positively because today I stepped on the scale and I saw one of my low weight ranges. So woohoo, yay to that. So excited. But during my cycle, that baby spiked way up. And I was like, I have been working so hard all January and I saw the spike go down. I went down, 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 and then up, and then down, down, and up, 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 and then down, 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 and then up, and then boom, down. That's how my whole month went when it went to weight. But the reason why I'm doing this is number one, I do have the goal of weight loss. So I've got to track it. Second, why do I make it a big deal when I have fluctuations? It's normal to have fluctuations. And in my head, if I'm like, okay, for 4 months, I'm going to track my weight no matter what. I'm going to look at the fluctuations zone, like zoomed out for 4 months out. And you know how they say like progress isn't a straight down line. There's ups and downs and peaks and valleys. Like you can see that type of stuff. And I know that to be true in business. I know that to be true in a lot of other areas of my life. And I don't think of it as a like, oh, what am I doing this for? Like there were definitely months in business in 2024 where income was down. But then the next month it was like, it came back up, or it was up for 2 months and then came back down in 1 week or whatever it was. And I don't get myself derailed about that in business, but I get myself so derailed about that in my own health and fitness journey. And you guys know this fall, I was all about a mental toughness journey. And I think this is one of those things where I'm now leaning into the things that I've shied away from, pushing myself, challenging myself, doing the things that make me uncomfortable or frustrated, and just being like, doesn't matter. I'm stepping on that scale. Doesn't matter. I'm putting it into the tracker. Doesn't matter. And I plan to move forward the same way like that with food in the year 2025 and really challenging myself in that way. But as of right now, I'm just getting back into having running and cardio being a part of my routine. And it's actually felt really good because a lot of times my run is dictated by the music. Like I'm like, okay, I'm going to set a pace and I'm going to run at this pace for 2 songs. And I'm still like, even today I did 4.5 miles, but I still stopped a little bit and would catch my breath on the treadmill, take some drinks of my water. And I still have to do some mindset stuff on like, it's totally okay to take breaks. That doesn't mean you didn't run 4.5 miles, So January. So glad you're done. So glad you're gone. I'm so grateful that within my Horatio planner that there is a praise report page at the end of every month, because I have tracked like the good things that have happened, because there have been good things. We got to go to a wild game. My husband and I did a 24-hour little mini trip that was something he got from work, and it was such a blessing to just go and do that. And we had so much fun. We had some great conversation and chats in the car on the drive down there, as my husband and I always do when we are road tripping together. The kids had their first wrestling tournament. That was adorable. A lot of time at home, a lot of time to just sit and lean in and resonate. And then also just, I can be so proud of myself of still sticking to my commitment and putting out there, like, I'm going to run a 10K. I signed up for the 10K and I have started training for that 10K. It's been really, really cool. So I controlled the things I could control while also simultaneously surrendered to what was happening, because we did miss out on some fun things and fun events and had to cancel plans on a few things because of sicknesses and exhaustion. Like, even after the kids got better, I was like, okay, I need a little bit to get my own bearings going again. So we had done that, but work-wise, things were really good. I've got some really cool clients that I've upgraded work with, and some new clients that are going to be launching podcasts, and it's all been really, really good, and simultaneously just living one day at a time and trying to do each day well. And also, I am so ready for, not that we're going to start getting warmer weather in February and March. February and March tend to be pretty hard months in the Midwest and in Minnesota specifically. But, we've made it through January, so that's positive. And the sunshine will come and we'll be able to be outside and do fun things like that. So thanks for chatting with me today. Thanks for hanging out with me. I was just blabbing and sharing all of the things. If there's anything that you want me to talk about in February, anything on your mind, please come on over to Instagram. Send me a DM. My handle is Joelle, Joelle, Cease, looks like Seuss, Suess. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you loved what you heard or you want to share your favorite episode topics, please leave a rating and review. This helps the podcast growth and gives people an idea of what the podcast is all about. Something new and exciting that I wanted to share with you before we go is that we now have a Patreon page. This has replaced the Feminine Edge collective community in a cohesive place that is easier for me to manage and cheaper for you. If you are interested in our monthly classes, exclusive day in the life vlogs, Bible studies, community Q&A, and more, go to patreon.com/livingInSync and join for just $5 a month. Check out the show notes for any links or details of things referenced in today's episode, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next one.